All right, for today's notes, we're going to look at area of circles. So before spring break, we looked at circumference. And so it's going to be a little bit different, kind of the same concept, but just a little bit different formula. So what is the circumference formula? So remember, we have two formulas. C is equal to pi d. C is equal to 2 pi r. Okay, but with area, we only have one formula, which is A equals pi r squared. So A is area. Pi, again, if they don't give it to you, will be 3.14. And then r squared means radius squared. So what does that mean for us? So it means we're going to take our radius times radius, and then we're going to times it by pi. Okay, so let's look at some examples. So this, we're going to use let pi be 3 first. So when it's just a radius, so just like your homework will be like this, they'll give you a circle. You've got to know, is it a radius or a diameter? When it's a radius, it's really easy. And when it's a diameter, we're going to have to adjust the circle just a little bit. Okay, so 5 is a radius. So our formula is going to be A equals pi r squared. So let pi be 3. So for radius, we're going to write it down twice. 5 times 5. And then we're going to multiply. So 5 times 5 is 25. And then 25 times 3 is 75 inches. Okay, so let's look at 4. So 4 is a radius. So again, write our formula. A equals pi r squared. So we'll replace everything with numbers. Pi is 3. Our radius is 4. So we're going to write that down 2 times. So again, doesn't matter how you multiply, just multiply them together. So I'm going to do 3 times 4 this time, which is 12. 12 times 4 is 48 meters. Okay, so again, with radius, it's very simple. Just multiply them. Radius times radius and times pi, or again, any order does not matter, especially when you use 3. So here's where this gets a little bit different. So we do, again, we'll start off with our formula. A equals pi r squared. So 16 is a diameter. Okay, so we do have to do some adjusting. So since it's a radius, we can't just say 16 times 16. We got to make it into a radius. This goes back to rules of a circle. So to go from a diameter to a radius, you got to cut it in half. So I'm going to cut 16 in half, which is 8. So instead of using 16, I'm going to use 8. So we're going to do 3 for pi. Radius is 8. Diameter is, or radius times radius, so it's going to be 8 times 8. So again, it's not 16. So when I do 8 times 8, I don't get out 16. I get 64. So 8 times 8 is 64. And then I'm going to do 64 times 3, which is 192 millimeters. Oh, and I did forget with area, we're going to put a little 2 next to our units for squared, for 2 dimensions. Okay, so let's look at 12. So we're going to, again, start our formula. A equals pi r squared. So this is a diameter, so we can't just plug 12 in. It has to be a radius. So remember, we cut it in half. So half of 12 is 6. So pi is 3. And we're going to do 6 times 6. Okay, so 6 times 6 is 36. And then I'm going to times it by pi, which is 3. So we get 108 feet. And then again, put a little 2 for squared. So feet squared. All right, so I'm going to flip it over on the back. On this one, we're going to use pi is going to be 3.14. Okay, so again, we've got to identify, is it a radius or diameter? So again, this 12 represents a radius. So we start with our formula. A equals pi r squared. Pi is going to be 3.14. And since 12 is a radius, we're going to write it down twice. Okay, so this one it's easiest to multiply the whole numbers first and then multiply it by our decimal last. So we have 3.14. 12 times 12 is 144. And so we're going to multiply those two together. And that's going to give us our answer. Okay, so multiply everything by 4 first. First 4. Okay, so I'm going to add a 0. Do the same thing again. And then remember, when you go that third row, you add 2 zeros. Two, 3, 12, 3, 5. And then we'll move our decimal over twice, so we get 452.16 centimeters squared. Okay, so let's look at this one. So we have 14 meters. Again, that's a diameter. So we're going to put it in, we're going to have to change it to be a radius. So we've got 3.14. So remember, go from a diameter to radius, we cut in half. So half of 14 is 7. We're going to write down 7 2 times. So again, multiply the whole numbers first. 7 times 7 is 49. And we'll do 3.14 times 49. And that will give us our answer. Which is 153.86 meters squared. And we will be getting a lot more bigger numbers this time than we did with circumference. Okay, so for the next page, it's going to be using pi in a different form, and then we'll look at 2 multiple choice questions.